heart-healthy diet is a general healthy diet that's going to go ahead and treat and prevent heart disease, as well as diabetes, and help prevent cancer, and also arthritis and other inflammatory illnesses. So yes, it's a heart-healthy diet, but it's important to know that it's not necessarily a special diet, and it's not necessarily, you could only follow a heart-healthy diet if you have heart disease. A heart-healthy diet is a Mediterranean diet, and it's the diet that's recommended for everybody of all ages for prevention and treatment. So one of the things is making sure that you're getting your fruits and vegetables. Now, we can't take that lightly because a healthy or Mediterranean diet is a diet that's really a plant-based diet. So it's a plant-forward diet where the quote meat, but it's not meat of our diet, is really the center of our plate should be those plant-based foods. So kind of switching where, like I grew up Italian, Sicilian Italian, and we grew up in the sausage or the pork chop or the steak, that would be our center point. And it seems with American food, it's usually either a large meat portion that's the center. What are you having for dinner? We're having pork chops. You know, that's the answer. Or what happens is the carbohydrate is the center of the plate. You know, the whole plate is spaghetti or the whole plate is rice. So the switch is kind of changing the percentages and having more of our plants, the stars, more fruits and vegetables, the stars, and then backing off on the portions of especially meats and high-fat dairy and simple carbohydrates. So the minimum amount is 2 servings of fruit. And let's remember that a serving of fruit of any kind of fruit is about our fist. You know, that's about a serving, a medium piece. And we have some, you know, we have some grapefruit right here. So this is a larger grapefruit. So it's probably like a serving and a half. We want at least 2 servings of fruit. But if you think of bananas, now when I go to the store, there's huge bananas. So some bananas could be equivalent to 2, if not 3 servings. So we're thinking at least 2 to 3 servings of fruit each day. And even if you're living with diabetes, and sometimes people are worried about the sugars. It's natural sugar that's high in fiber without any additives, so we don't worry about it. Even if you're living with diabetes, I want you to eat your fruit and not worry about it. Now, in terms of vegetables, a serving of raw vegetables, like a spinach, would be about your fist or a cup, and a serving of cooked vegetables is a half a cup. We want a minimum of 3 per day. I would prefer even like 6 to 11. You can't get too many, especially of the non-starchy vegetables. You know, protein is just an incredibly important part of our diet. And I think one of the issues with protein, though, especially when it comes to meat and milk products, is that those serving sizes are too large. And with the healthy Mediterranean diet that's more plant forward, you could have those animal products, but then you watch the portion sizes. And so I think a proper portion size for, like, if you're having a poultry, or especially if you're having beef, you know, fish and fish as well. Fish would be about 6 ounces. I think poultry would be 4 to 6 ounces. And if it was beef, I'd go ahead and pull it back and do closer to 3 ounces per serving size. And then think that there's other sources of protein as well. We have our nuts and seeds here. A serving of nuts and seeds is a couple tablespoons or a quarter a cup. And we also have the Greek yogurt over there, the non-fat, that is a great source of protein. And the serving size is about 3/4 cups. You know, one thing when I talk to my patients about protein, they say, I want to get healthy, and so I want to increase my protein. And they feel like a high protein diet equals muscles. And with reality, what we need is adequate amounts of protein, but we need adequate amounts of calories and a healthy variety of foods and an adequate amount of protein, and then working the muscle is what builds muscle. So just eating protein does not equal lean body mass. It's working the muscle that equals lean body mass. Let me give you an example. So eggs, a lot of times my patients say, oh, you know, I'm eating eggs and I know eggs are bad for me. Well, the truth of the matter is eggs are loaded with vitamins and minerals. The egg whites is a lean protein, and it's the yolk that's still really high in vitamins that has saturated fat that's known to, and saturated fat is known to not be the best for heart disease. So a lot of times people say, I won't have an egg. But then later on the day, they'll make a whole bunch of other food choices that are high in saturated fat, and they judge the egg. And again, it's more about knowing what foods are high in saturated fat, and those are the saturated fat and trans fatty acids are the ones we want to avoid. So it's gaining the knowledge. Usually fat from animal sources are high in saturated fat, as well as palm oil and coconut oils. And then of course we want to stay away from trans fats. So let's look at in our diet throughout our whole day, what foods might I choose that are high in saturated fat? And then if you want 2 eggs in that day that has about the recommended amount of saturated fat and cholesterol for the day, then that could be your higher saturated fat choice and you don't have to worry about it. And then the rest of the day, pick plant-based proteins like beans or legumes, or make sure you have chicken without the skin. And so you balance the higher fat or higher saturated fats as opposed to having them be something that you never have. And so healthy fats are like olive oil, avocado oil, canola oil. I love some of the sprays because you have less oil overall. We have pumpkin seeds here, which I love, so nuts and seeds. We have some almonds right here. Those are like the plant-based fats that are so great for you. And again, we want to avoid the fats from milk products and meat products. So with oils, like what I love, you want oils that are liquid at room temperature. So those are the oils that are generally better for you. And I always think about what flavor profile am I going for. So olive oil is terrific. It's a healthy hard oil, and I love it when I'm sauteing tomatoes with onions and garlic, for example. But that's not always the flavor profile that I want. So if I'm cooking Mexican food, I may use an organic canola oil. Or if I'm frying something and I need something for a higher cooking temperature, I may use avocado oil. So there's a variety of oils depending on what your flavor profile is, as well as the temperature you're cooking at, is what you want to look at. One of my favorites now is baking with walnut oil, because it's a healthy hard oil and it has a really wonderful nutty flavor to your baking products. The majority of sodium that we intake is either through added salt added at the table in cooking or at the table, or through processed foods, and then also eating out as well. So that's where we get most of our sodium. Because of busyness and Americans' reliance on processed food, much of the sodium we take in are from boxed or packaged products and bakery products as well. But cutting back on our sodium is imperative. We have an epidemic of high blood pressure in this country and heart disease, and we know that excess sodium, there's a direct link to that and hypertension, for example. So one of the things to start looking at is what packaged products are you purchasing and what products, how much sodium. The recommended amount for sodium is less than 2,400 milligrams per day of sodium, when the average American gets 4,000 milligrams of sodium. So just start when you're looking at products, look at that food label and look at sodium, and you want to just try and purchase the products that have the lowest amounts of sodium. Keeping in mind, if your aim is 2,400 for the whole day, you don't want more than like 500 per meal. Especially important, like with frozen lunch, entrees, frozen products. If you see a frozen product and it's 1,800 milligrams of sodium, that's almost your entire day. So then you want to try and choose another product. And also be cautious of some of those home delivered meals where you prepare yourself or are delivered to you. Some of them, each meal could be as much sodium as you take for the whole day too. So become more aware, read the food labels, become more aware. And then when you reach for the salt shaker at home, ask yourself, is there another way I could flavor this food? There are literally hundreds of just wonderful herbs and spices. And again, in American culture, we lean towards salts, but in other countries, even like Africa and India, they're using curry powders and just different kinds of chili powders and so many other things to cook with. So think about herbs and spices. There's a lot more herb blends on the market now that, like for example, Italian herb blend and it's dried with basil, oregano, and thyme. You can mix them yourselves, or you could purchase those, so either fresh herbs or herb blends. I love it. One of my favorite things to add more flavor, I put green onions in everything because it adds a lot of flavor without salt. Regular onions, garlic. I love finishing off a dish with lime or lemons. This is Meyer lemons from our tree. The other day I made some turmeric rice, and at the end of making it, when it was on the plate, I just put a little squeeze of lime, and my husband's like, that added so much more flavor, and it added so much more pop. So again, add fresh herbs or dried herbs, onions or other natural vegetables that add flavor or citrus. And of course, I pick some rosemary from my garden, and it just smells so good. To have it inside, either for aromatherapy as well as for culinary purposes. There's different schools of thought on that, and part of it also depends on your diagnosis. And so if you came into UC Davis with severe coronary artery disease, the doctor may recommend a stricter vegan or vegetarian diet for you. And that's something that I'd want you to work closely with a registered dietitian to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need. It's not absolutely imperative, but it is important that all of us start moving our diet to being more plant forward. If we think of what is a Mediterranean diet, it really is a vegetarian diet that then we add small amounts of fish, small amounts of poultry, and more rarely, maybe 1 or 2 times a month, small amounts of beef. So yes, being more plant forward and kind of limiting the amount of animal products that we have is important for health. It's about making our family culture just naturally healthy diet. So it's not putting them on a diet, and it's not telling them you have to eat healthy now. It just becomes who you are as a family, and so that's the way to do it. Kids generally, over time, will desire a liking to foods that they're introduced to. So I think if mom and dad decides that we're going to go ahead and have berries available on a regular basis, we're going to be serving green leafy vegetables, we're going to be having some plant-based meals with beans as opposed to meat, we're going to be having nuts for snack after soccer practice as opposed to buying a donut. So when we start doing that, even if the children start eating those foods and saying, I don't like it, and if it's a change, they're used to that salty sweet, they might complain, or they just haven't developed the taste buds yet. So my encouragement is just keep doing it. Don't make separate meals for them. Just keep going ahead and presenting healthy food choices, and parents to choose what's available to the children when the children will choose how much they're going to eat. Without the parents becoming a short order cook where they're going to go ahead and make something different, just keep presenting healthy foods. And then over time, it may take them multiple times of tasting something like spinach that before they like the flavor, but eventually I believe that they will. Please don't make it a power struggle. If they don't like it, just let it go.